Hello everyone, I am Vaos and welcome to a video. It's been a while, hasn't it? Now this is not KSP, but of course it's about space, Star Trek Online. Now when Star Trek Online came out way back in the day, I tried it out and I really thoroughly enjoyed it. Ever since then it's changed a lot. Now of course when it first came out, the graphics weren't all that great, and I guess your starting space station point was a little weird. Over time, they went back in and they updated the graphics a little bit, so now the space station looks exactly like the one that's, was it Starbase 1 or something like that, that's over Earth? That one that looks like a big steel mushroom. Then, of course, during this time period, this is when Star Trek changed hands a little bit, and so now you had the new Star Trek stuff coming out for the online game, but at least you didn't have to, at least you weren't forced into it. It was the Star Trek Online was all about choices. You could do whatever you want, make whatever character you wanted. You can take your ship and upgrade it the way you want, and even swap out parts to make it look the way you want. Well, not completely, but you know, you had a choice. So of course in the early days of Star Trek Online, I played the hell out of it and finished every quest, everything, did PvP, all that jazz. The only reason why I stopped playing it was because of time. I found myself with more responsibilities, life went on, and of course it got kind of put on the back burner. When I first started playing it, they had an option where you could do like a lifetime subscription, and back in the day it was only like 200 bucks. And I think this wasn't on Steam when it first came out, if I can remember correctly. It was on some other platform. So yeah, I went ahead and paid $200 and I had a lifelong subscription, and they've been, you know, they've been really good at honoring that. Pretty recently I jumped back on just to check things out, and I still had the subscription. So yeah, it is what they say it is. A lifelong subscription. There are some things though that I was kind of disappointed to find out, like some of the missions that they had going on. There was one mission that had you going, was it back in time? Something like that, where you had to deal with the original Star Trek, with the original Enterprise and the whole 1960s version of Star Trek and everything else. It was actually really neat. I can't remember exactly what the premise was, but you were at a space station that was really old, and you had to go back in time using some sort of portal that was appearing within the space station. And the space station itself was super old. It was falling apart. It had like different types of elements attached to it because over the years, different species, it switched hands between different organizations and stuff. It was actually a really good thought out mission. It was really neat when you were at the bottom of the station and, you know, you went through this portal and everything was suddenly brand new. Brand new in the sense that it was just built way back in the day. So you had the sound effects of like the old original Star Trek, and the looks and the really 1960s looking platforms with the buttons. It was actually a really neat thing. I guess later on they expanded on that and actually made a whole thing where you could play in the original Star Trek theme. Sadly though, that mission is missing. I can't find it anymore, which is kind of a bummer. So now I went back on Star Trek Online and I checked it out and you know, played around a little bit, and I tried to do a kind of a story where, I don't know if any of you have seen Down Periscope, but I wanted to kind of build a story mimicking that type of play out, where you had a captain and a general, and the general didn't really like the captain all that much, and so he went ahead and gave him a ship that was really old, and of course handpicked the crew that was like the worst crew ever according to Starfleet, and he was like, great. And of course then the general would send him off on these death-defying missions that he in his ultimate wisdom knew that the captain with this horrible ship and this horrible crew would never be able to complete, and probably even die.
Speaking of age, what do you think about our boat, Pascal?
I feel I need a tetanus shot just from looking at it.
I could imagine something very similar to Down Periscope, having very comedy-like aspects of the entire thing, where like the captain is walking down the hallway and things are just falling apart around him. He tries to open the door and like one side slides open, the other one doesn't, and as he goes through, maybe the entire panel just falls to the ground. To be honest, if they had a movie, if they came out with a series like that where it was a ragtag crew on a really rusty old ship, and the captain just had to make do with what he had and ended up doing some really smart things that put him above everybody else who had really high-tech ships and, you know, elite crews, but somehow they managed to be on top of everybody because the captain's what what helps the ship come together, and he found the flaws and the strengths of his crew and ship and was able to manipulate it in such a way that actually overcame a lot of the missions and stuff. I would watch that. I would definitely watch that. That would be, especially if we had a lot of comical aspects in it. That'd be awesome. Now, of course, things, like I said, have changed in Star Trek Online, and it sometimes throws you into missions that are end game stuff, and it can be really jolting and confusing at times. So instead of having you go through all the beginner level stuff, it does give you the option to just jump right into something that is so out there that your ship would blow up after one torpedo hit because you haven't gone through all the other missions yet. And for new players or new characters, I can see how that can be a little jolting. I mean, at 1 second I'm doing some sort of mission that you do when you first start off in the in your new character and stuff of this nature, you know, fighting Klingons and, you know, the whole schmeal when it comes to Vulcans versus this or whatever. And then all of a sudden, the very next mission, if you don't read it just right or whatever the case may be, because it's like sitting right next to the next mission, suddenly you're fighting the alternate universe Federation versus the alternate universe Janeway with all these ships, and you're like, hold on, what happened? How did I jump from point A to point Z? Not to mention that there are there are some bugs in the system. Hilarious bugs, but bugs nevertheless. I guess there's a bug where you become Q and you can just fly around the universe without a spacecraft. Okay.
You've got to be shitting me.
No, I am not shitting you.
And then, of course, I like to call this one the invisible bicycle. But anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you play Star Trek Online? Is it something you started off when it first came out years ago? You just kind of lost interest of it? Or have you just now discovered it and, you know, enjoy it? Let me know in the comments below what you think about it. Anyway, this has been well, it's been a while since I've done videos, but this has been the first in a while. So hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. And if you liked what you saw, please leave a like. And if you loved what you saw, consider subscribing. Also, we have a membership program. If you become a member, get cool emojis and patches and stuff next to your name. Pretty cool. Check it out. But anyways, I will see you in the next stream and or video. Until then, love you all. Stay safe. And I'll see you in the next video or stream. I repeated myself. Bye.
Next.